So this afternoon, we've been asked to talk a bit about AppSheet, and we are incredibly excited about this technology. And although I wasn't highlighted as one of the speakers, when I saw the content, I thought I better get involved in this because it's something that I'm absolutely passionate about and what it's delivered for our business and what it's delivering for clients. So I thought I'll do the beginning bit of this, and then Stephen, who was the person who's going to do this, he's our technical director. I'm going to introduce him properly in a minute. He'll take over and show you what it looks like at a practical level. So the title of our talk is Unlocking Business Potential by AppSheet, Transforming Processes Across Google Workspace. AppSheet is an amazing piece of technology, and we'll see that in the next few slides. Okay, so what we're going to talk about, I won't bore you too much. I'll talk a bit about what Stiegl is. That's our company. We are a Google Workspace partner, as you can see with those logos. Then we'll talk about the essentials of what AppSheet is and why it matters to your business. And then Stephen will do a live demo and actually put a few things together. Now that could work, Paul. Who knows if it works or not, but we will try and we'll see how that transpires. And if you want to ask questions, I guess, what's the protocol for that, Paul? Do they just put their hands up during it? Or
so we've got the Google chat space going on. We've got the chat space going, so that can then be used now for any kind of questions. And obviously, because that will continue, we'll be able to continue the conversation after this particular session has finished. So I think it's a great way of using both technologies. We've got a bit of Google Meet going on, and then we've got the chat spaces where we can chat. So feel free to ask any questions in the chat space.
Oh, someone wants to come in, so I guess you let them in. Or should I have done it? So, introduction to Stiegl. Actually, this picture is not just a delightful person looking at that screen. This is one of our earlier products. So we are a partner that adds value to Google Workspace, and we actually build products on top of Google Workspace, which is basically like how we've got into AppSheet. We'll talk about that briefly. So I'm Peter Chadder. I'm the commercial lead at Stiegl, and I sort of oversee our strategy and our projects and where we're going, and Stephen oversees all the technical projects, and he's the right person to actually demo the practical side. Don't ask me about practical stuff, ask me about ideas and excitement. That's where I sit. So I live in that world of how can we make our business better, and that's the stuff. I've actually been in the Google arena now for quite a long time, since it was called G Suite, and before that when it was called Google Apps. I can't remember which way around. And you'll find me that I actually wrote a book many years ago because I was so excited about Google. So that was thinking about going Google Apps a long, long time ago. So I've been in this arena for a long, long time. And we have, so Stiegl it's got two elements to it. So we've got Stiegl.com, which is our main website. And then we got one.stiegl.com, which is we build employee intranets. So essentially, for example, say you wanted a place where you log in the morning, you can see the news in your organization, find out who's working where, who reports to who, org charts, all that kind of stuff. That's what we build. And we're not talking about that today, but that's, if you like, the big half of our business, and the other half and the growing half is the AppSheet part of the business. So we've got lots of clients, which you might have on the slide next. You can see this is one of our tools which we build on Workspace. This is a employee directory where you've got the names of the different employees, phone numbers, all that kind of stuff. They've got rich profiles. It looks a bit like Facebook. You know, they have pictures, they can upload documents, all that kind of stuff. And that is been our mainstay until AppSheet. I won't again bore you with a lot of the clients here, but we mainly serve clients actually in the US today. The majority of our clients are actually in the US, but we have clients right around the world, and there are probably some familiar names on this list where we've worked for in the past, even the government we've worked for. And we've got quite a few clients here in the healthcare sector, and we've got clients where regulation is quite important because our intranet solution is really very privacy focused because we don't do any hosting. Everything is actually hosted within the client's own Google Workspace. So now the bit you're actually interested in, the title of the talk is what is AppSheet? So the idea behind AppSheet, I guess, is anything that, if you start off in a business and say you've got, I don't know, a logistics department where they're taking in boxes and they're sending them out. People would have started in the old days with a scrapbook. Then the scrapbook wouldn't get good enough, they'd get a logbook. Then the logbook wouldn't get enough, then they start to work on a spreadsheet. And then a lot of businesses lie in that area of just using a spreadsheet because that's about where the technology can get to until they get to a certain point where suddenly it's so big, they need to have an ERP, and that's enterprise resource planning, a warehouse management system, or they need to go to a developer and say, we need the system which is going to do all of this, all the boxes coming in, all the boxes going out, because if we use a spreadsheet, Paul over there can change a bit of data and I can change a bit of data, and we don't know who's talking what, and that spreadsheet loses its integrity. Well, now a number of platforms, and the big one for us today is AppSheet. They said, well, if the data is in a spreadsheet, can we convert that into an application? And they give you a whole series of tools to run and actually convert that spreadsheet into an application that can be run on a mobile, an application that can be run on a tablet or a desktop. And it's very, very empowering. And where you think about, because I've done a lot of application development with third parties before, you've got servers, you've got web servers, you've got security to think about, you may have 50 developers involved in making something, and typically people make it an app in somewhere like India because you can afford it there. So that's what technology has been. But today, if you just imagine you're a small warehouse and you want to control and record those things, you do have an opportunity using AppSheet technology to just build upon a spreadsheet and do this amazing stuff. Now, the next thing about it is you don't actually need to have a whole load of developers. If you're reasonably competent with spreadsheets and you're good with that analytical way of doing things, you can actually build for it. It's called a no-code platform. To be honest with you, as a person in that camp who's not a developer, I don't think it's that easy. But for anyone who's got an analytical bent, like an accountant, like a developer, it's very easy because there is no real code. But what Stephen will show you today is, or we'll talk about, is the power of AppSheet with AppSheet and then combining it with code and what's brilliant about it. So here are some sort of motherhood things that Google talk about. Google acquired the package in 2020. Their idea was democratizing development. And now we're going down this whole AI route where anybody can develop anything. And this is going to be one of the building blocks for that, and we'll explain that. An important thing to say, though, even though we are Google partners, AppSheet doesn't just work with Google, it works with 365 as well. And I think the reason for that is that Google like the idea that non-Google Workspace clients can use this technology, and then they can see how good Google is. So that's the first slide. So why AppSheet? Why now? There's no code. Empower teams to solve problems without waiting for IT backlogs. Google Workspace integration connects natively to your tools. Rapid development, tools in hours, not weeks. That's a lie, but it's a good bit of marketing spiel. But it's certainly weeks and not months to develop quite complicated things. And in my experience, some of the applications I've worked with in the past could easily take a year, 2 years even. But you can do things within, and Stephen will show you, within minutes you can do things. So you can just extrapolate that to making something. And you don't have to be, a huge, great big business. You don't have to be an Amazon or an IBM. And small corner shops, small garages, small anything can actually do with this work. Hospitals can use it. Loads of other environments, departments can use it. You don't have to have one system running across the whole business. Anybody can use it. And if they've got Workspace, the best thing about it is it's cheap, because Google gives you either free licenses if you've got Google Workspace, or subsidized licenses if you need the higher tiers. So that's an amazing benefit, because if you think about it, a CRM system. We used a CRM system before for ourselves. By CRM, if you don't know, it's, you know, a place where you keep all the track of your customers, all the other things that you do, and you send off proposals and all that stuff. And our CRM system was costing £600 per person, and suddenly it's gone out of the window. We don't pay for any of that. So it's cost effective and it's scalable, because we have clients using it with hundreds of thousands of transactions. So if you start off small, the back end of it is spreadsheets, and Google spreadsheets are effectively databases. But obviously they reach a certain point where you can't manage, and it's not enough. So in those cases, there are other back-end tools that you can use, like Cloud SQL and other things, to really scale it up. So we've got clients using it to do literally hundreds of thousands of transactions. They're like accountants that are doing stuff in the States with it, and they use it on Cloud SQL. Next thing, so AppSheet in action. So here we've talked, I'm going to race through, we've actually got slides on them. So what I wanted to do is just go through some real things that will give you a feeling for what you can do with AppSheet. So I talked about a little warehouse, but much more than that. So medical records management. We're working with someone at the moment who's got an ancient database where medical records are put away in filing boxes. And that means you have to take pictures of them. You've got barcodes, all that kind of stuff. And again, because it's medical, privacy is a concern. They've had quotes of hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it can be done pretty rapidly in AppSheet, because your app can run on a mobile phone. I can run it on this phone and take a picture. I can do the barcode, can recognize stuff, and it can work. I'm not going to spend too long about all these, because it's just to give you a flavor of applications that you can use. Coffee assurance. Now, this is a weird one. This is a weird one. So we have a client that wants to empower people in poor countries like Colombia, like Brazil. I mean, they're not poor, but the people who are actually doing this work are not going to be, you know, sophisticated office workers. They have to go out and look at the provenance of coffee. So, for example, say you wanted to verify that Nescafe or Nestle's got organic coffee. So they will actually give the app, which can be deployed on Android or an iPhone, and then they'll give it to the workers and say, okay, your job is to now go to the field and take pictures of this crop, verify that it's organic. I don't know how they do that. Test the soil. And each stage, these people can be taking photographs, and that information can pass back into head office, and it can work. Another beauty of AppSheet is it can work offline. So it keeps a sort of cached copy, and then at the minute they get online, bang, it goes up to head office, and in real time, effectively, you know that coffee is what it says it is on the tin. So they can then verify it for the companies like Nestle, and it's great. And you can see visual documentation, offline capability, certification. The other thing, by the way, which is why this is interesting, this one, you can geolocate that phone. So when they take that picture, then they can verify that it's been geolocated in the right field. It's pretty, and that's all out of the box. You don't pay for any of this stuff. It's all there. And that's truly mega. Now, next one, appraisal tracking. So, for example, you want to make sure that you've got your appraisal systems running, that people have submitted their things on the right time. You can use a system like this and send off forms and what have you. I won't go into in depth, but you get reminders, all that kind of stuff. And that can integrate into Google Chat, that can integrate into email, all those things. Educational support ticketing. We've built a system which is saving a client hundreds of thousands of dollars, because they've got 4,000 teachers and hundreds of, well, not hundreds, of 50 or 60 schools, I can't remember. But they have various ticketing needs, and AppSheet is gonna, because they don't have to pay for a license, because they're Google Workspace customers, they're gonna get this, and we build it, and we built it actually and they are handling all the queries. And then other nice thing for the client is they're always optimizing. So they say, well, we want this to be done this way. Can we do it this way instead? AppSheet is such a versatile environment. You can actually do that really quickly. Whereas, can you imagine if you've got a coding environment, you've got to find the code, cut the code, move it around, change it all. You've got to have the right developers who knew what the system was. AppSheet, in theory, don't forget, is no code. So you don't need that same level of expertise to be on hand. So that's something interesting. Project management, task tracking, it's great at doing all sorts of visual dashboards, reporting, all that kind of stuff. It's an amazing platform. And demo Steagle app. So I think Stephen's going to show you that. But before we do that, I don't know if it's possible for me to just show you a couple of other things. Don't think. I'll just show you this 1 second. I'm not gonna. This is one of our systems, and I can't go into it in any depth because it's got confidential information in it. But here you get the idea that how versatile the system is. So this is what we call the Oracle, and it's all of our business is built around this. So this is our dashboard, and our dashboard is telling us that we've got 11 projects that are actively on the run. So some of those might be sort of awaiting payment, but normally if there's that means we've received a payment, and you can see it says awaiting payment. We got one. We've got on hold, we've got one, we've got ongoing 8 projects and completed 1 project, which was on that backlog. Here you've got the tasks that the team has to handle and what's going on, activity happening this week, last week, and all that stuff. Tickets, if we've got any people with outstanding queries on our software so we showed you our intranet software. Opportunities that we're following up, and renewals if people need to be relicensed. And I think that was that's just I wanted to show you. This was our intranet site, and I'll just show you Steagle.com so you know there's a difference. So this is where we do all of our stuff for Google Workspace and Google Sites, where we're big experts, and then this is our other product. And now, Stephen, I believe, if I'm correct, I can hand over to you. Yeah.
Oops. Yep. I'll start doing the demo.
Yeah. I'll stop presenting.
Yeah. And,
hopefully that whisked through it, Paul, quickly.
What an intro.
Yeah.
Okay, so
best intro ever, Peter. Best intro ever.
As we've mentioned before, lots of people start with a spreadsheet. So what I've got is a sample spreadsheet that I'm sure many of us have had sheets like this, where we're tracking a project or some other information, and we've got the basic information about it, and then we've got people adding notes in, and it's just a spreadsheet. So if they want to go and add notes, they've got to go and edit the column. They've got to make sure that they can enter the text right and not get it wrong, or people can accidentally delete stuff, and of course you don't know who's updated what, and so we can improve this with AppSheet. And the key to AppSheet is, I'm going to do a very cheesy phrase, that the key to AppSheet is having keys. AppSheet is basically turning your spreadsheet into a relational database, so it needs a unique ID to identify everything. So if you're going to add that manually, I'll show you how to add one manually. You would basically add a key column. And so you make a column, call it key or ID, whatever you prefer. And then AppSheet Handler gives you a spreadsheet formula that you can pop in. And basically AppSheet's going to do this for us going forwards. But what I will do is I'll add them all now. So they've all got their own little unique key. And so they've all got a randomized unique key there. That formula is a live formula. So you have to copy it and paste it in as the values, so that it stays static. And so we just want the values. So now it's no longer a formula, it's just a unique key. And then once you're at this point, you can then go to AppSheet and say you want to make an app from this particular spreadsheet. So if you go over to AppSheet, go to Create. Now, Google's mad on Gemini, so you can start with Gemini and it will have a conversation with you what you want for your app and get going that way. They give you templates. You can go completely blank, but we've got our data. So we're going to start with our data, and we're going to call it, we'll call it P track. It's a project tracker. And then we'll say it's planning and management. This doesn't matter. You could just set it to other if you want. And then it asks to choose your data. And so it's a Google Sheet, but there's all kinds of different data sources you can use. You can go BigQuery if you want. You can use Microsoft. We're going to use Google Sheets. This will then take you to the standard drive picker. You can search for your sheet quite easily, pick the sheet, and then AppSheet will do its magic. So it's going to have a look at your sheet. Oh, great. Yeah. Live demos always fail. We'll try it again. App and then existing data. And here we go. That'll do. We'll say it's that one. In fact, we've got project tracker. Choose your data. And we'll do it again. Off we go. And this time, hopefully we don't get an error. So all this is doing is AppSheet's interrogating the spreadsheet and seeing what it can see for it, and then basically it makes an app for you. And so it makes an app that quickly. It's obviously pushing at you if you've got enterprise licenses. You can get Gemini as part of Workspace now. But you can see this is like the little app preview area. It's already made me an app. It's already there for me. And the way it's done that is from data. And so again, the key to getting it right is making sure you've got your data right. That's the key thing for AppSheet. And so this key, we use an AppSheet for a spreadsheet format to start off, but the initial value we normally want when you make a new one, what's its initial value? That's where you want its unique ID. So we'll pop that in for ourselves now. There we are, unique ID. Save that. That means whenever we make a new record, it's got to get that unique ID. You can see here, it's managed to see that the project name is a name. It's got the start date and due date as dates. You can see the person responsible as text. You can see the percentage complete is a %. It's got the status, which is text, and the notes, which is a long text. All great. And if we go and have a look at our little preview, we can see that's working straight away. So project name, Project Nova. It looks a bit bland at the moment, but we can see the notes. We can see where we're at. And so the first thing where you can make a big difference with AppSheet is status. We don't want it just to be text where people can fill in whatever they want. We want that to be a predefined list of things. So we'll make that what's called an enum. And then for each of these enums, we can put into that the actual values that we want. And so I'll pop in the values that we've got in the spreadsheet already. We can add the in progress. We can have pending. We've got an on hold. And we've also got completed. Add in completed. There we are. Click on done. Click on save. And that will then update the app to do that. So now, if I look at my app and I go to add a new project, well, if we scroll down to that status option, we've now got the statuses, so we can pick a status there. And again, these things are pre-made for you. All these forms are made for you. You can see, for instance, the keys displayed on this form. And the key, we don't want to see it. We never really want to see it. And so we can just remove it from the form. So this little preview you get here is actually interactive, and it can take you to the right place in the editor. So if we click on edit, it's taken us to the view for this particular form, and it's highlighted key for us. And then we can say, we can hide it completely, showing it that way, or if we want to, you can put it in manual mode and say, I don't want the key on this form. And you can see straight away it's showing you the preview that's been removed from the form, which is great. And so we can save that. The next would be, we want to have a look at this view that we've got. If we go cancel, here's our view, and we can see we've got, well, there's that key again. I didn't want to see that key. And actually this little view, we might want something a bit more useful. And so when we hover over the entirety of this view, we get this blue icon again to edit, and it'll take us to the edit view option, which is here. And here we can see that we've got the primary header as the project name. The secondary header is the key. AppSheet's automatically assigned that for us, but we want something more useful than that. We're going to say, show me the person who's responsible, and you can see immediately pop the person who's responsible for you in the preview. And then the summary column hasn't got one, and what we could show there, for instance, is percentage complete. So there we are. We've got a bit more information there. You can already see it's grouping them, so it's put all the in progress ones together, the pending ones together, the on hold ones together, which is great. And this little preview is great for looking to see what your mobile view looks like, but there's also a desktop preview as well. You can click on the little desktop icon there, pop you into a new window, and it shows you what it looks like on a desktop display. And when we look at it this way in a desktop display, we can see, well, it's not really using the real estate of your screen very well. So probably what would be better is to have a table view rather than this kind of view, which is called a deck view. And so what we can do exactly that. We can add a new view in, and we will call this view, if we go to the top, we can give the view a name, and we'll call it project table. And it's going to use the project data, which is great. We want it to be a table view. There's all kinds of different views you can use for different purposes. And then you can say, how do you want it sorted? Well, ideally, we want it sorted by the start date ascending, so we can see the earliest projects first. But then we can also do our own little group by. So again, we can group by the status, which is there, and then we could group by, say, for instance, who's responsible for it. So the person responsible. And then if we click on save, when you click on save in the editor, you'll see that the little desktop does an automatic refresh for you as well. And now we can go over to project table, and there we've got the project table, which is great. And so here you can see, again, AppSheet's doing all these things automatically for us. It's put the columns in there. It's got that key in again. I want to hide it, so I'll show you how to hide that in a different way. So we can go to the project tracker. If you never want to see it at all, you can actually go to the data and say on the key for the project, you can scroll over and say, don't ever show me this. That's fine. I don't need to see it ever. And then in some views, you might need to go and hide it from the view as well. So we can do that too. We can go to the project table. Again, the column order is automatic, so we can say it's manual. And then we can say, oh yeah, the key's gone already because we've hidden it, which is great. But you might want to put things in a different order. You might want to put percentage complete after the project name, for instance. You can do that. Also, the grouping, you can aggregate them as well. So if you want to sum or count, you can do that kind of idea. Again, click on save. You can go and have a look. And this time we can now see we've got in progress, pending, on hold. You can see them. If you click on that, it shows you them, and then it's grouped them again by the person who's responsible for them. So it highlights that bit of information for you. So that's it. That's a basic app. And then you've got the add button. You can go and add things in. But the reason we want to use AppSheet is we want to make it better. And so one of the things we can make things better is we can improve how things look. And so again, if we were to click on this particular project, that's looking a bit lackluster. And so what we're going to do is we're going to improve the view here. So this is what's called the details view. And so in AppSheet editor, we can go over to the views, and on the views, again, these are all auto-generated. We've got the project details view, and here there's various different options, but AppSheet just gives you the most basic. So we're going to try using the card view. And as soon as you enable card view, again, it gives you this layout that you can choose. And it's done a rather good job just by itself. So if you've got an image associated with the data, you can choose an image field, but we've got the chart instead. We've got the percentage complete, which is quite handy. The header, project name's useful. The subheader, person responsible, that's great. We've got the long text option here, which again is showing us our notes. That's lovely. And then you can change the actions if you want. We haven't added any specific actions, so it's given us delete and edit, and you can share and you can like, which is great. But then also, to save us having to go and click on the edit button every time, we can add in some quick edit columns, so we can go to this view and change things that we might need to change on a regular basis. And some of the things we might want to change quite often is you're probably not going to change your project name, but you are probably going to change the status. You're not necessarily going to change other things, but you might want to change the percentage complete. And so these are quick edit columns. And again, if you look at the preview, status is there, but for some reason my percentage complete isn't there. That's because, again, we're in this automatic or manual mode. If we switch to manual, then it does a little refresh, and now you can see you've got all the bits there. And it also gives you the ability to get rid of things. So for instance, we've already got the project name at the top, so we don't need that in the details down below. We do want to see the start date and the due date, the person responsible. You could hide that again if you want to, or you can make that to a quick edit field if that's going to change. And then you get your status, and then you got your notes. And if we have a look, our notes is there, but I can't add anything to that. So let's add that as a quick edit column, notes, and then we've got notes in there. So now that's in a quick edit column. So now if we save that, again, jump back to our desktop preview to give you a bit more of an idea what it looks like on the desktop. You get this big view that you can see. So that's one option you can have when you're setting up the views. Do you want it to be a full screen view, or do you want it to be a side panel view? Again, if we click on this one, this is going to come out as a side panel view. So there we are. We've got the side panel view there. And that's all ready to go. So next up, we can, again, make it look even better still. And so what we can do with that is we can add some sparkle with some formatting rules. And so we have formatting rules to do that. And so what we can do is we can just highlight bits of information. So say, for instance, we could go and add some formatting rules to our statuses to make them stand out. And so what we'll do is we'll grab, we're going to make a status for completed, and it's going to have its own little icon. And so it's got a condition, so this will only happen at the right time. So as you can see, as I start typing, it's going to suggest the columns that I have. So I can pick the status. What do I want the status to be? Well, I want the status to be, and you can see AppSheet can see this is a drop-down box. It's all automatically suggesting to me what I should have in there. So when the status is completed, what do I want to do? Well, what do I want to do? I want to take my status field. I want to give it an icon. And so when it's completed, we'll use the stop icon there. We'll use the stop icon and we'll color it in blue. There we are. And so we've got that status in there, and you'll be able to see what that looks like straight away. If we go over to the preview, it's added it in already there. So you've got the status icon there against completed. And if we close the bigger view there, you can see it in the table as well. And then you can do the same thing. And AppSheet makes this easy for you to do. You can just duplicate that particular item there, and then what you can do is you can change it to what you actually want it for. So the next one, you want that to be in progress, for instance. We can do in progress. You can then change what the status needs to be. It needs to be in progress, and then you can change what you want the icon to be. We'll use the play icon because it's in progress, and we'll stick it in green. Again, that should be on there already. And then you can go in and add all the rest of them in as well. So you could go and you can duplicate again. We'll put on hold. Change the status to be on hold. And we can change the icon again. This time we'll have it pause icon because it's paused. Change its color. And finally, we've got that final one, which is pending. So that we're waiting on something from somebody else. You could use all kinds of different icons, but we'll go pending. And then we'll go to, this should be pending as well. And we'll change it to, we need an answer to a question. So let's say we'll use a question mark. There's a question mark icon. But you could have a little hourglass, and we'll make that a completely different color. We'll make it purple. And so when we save it this time, we can go back to our little desktop display. And now you can see it's looking a bit more colorful. Bit there, it brings things out easier. But you can use formatting rules for all kinds of things. So let's say, for instance, the project name isn't standing out enough. We can go back. We can add in another formatting rule. The formatting rule can make the name bold, for instance. You can make the title really simple if you want. It doesn't need a status. You want it all the time. It's going to be on the project name. And this time we can alter the text format, make it bold. And you can see it bold in the display there. If we go here, you can see it's bold there as well. So that's what we can do to make things look better, and you can spend hours making it look as nice as you want. But the burning question is, the reason why we want to improve things with AppSheet is these notes. Yes, I can click on it. Yes, I can edit my note and add another one. That's great. But this data should be better structured. And so what we can do is we can change this over to, instead of being just a notes field, we can have individual notes that you can add as you go along, which has got a proper defined date, etc. And so the way we can do that is add more data. And so we'll jump back to our spreadsheet and we'll add a new sheet in where we'll keep the notes. And on this sheet, again, you want a key. You need to make sure we've got the key. We're going to want to link it to the project that we're actually working on. We want to have a date. We'll have a date. And then you want the actual update that you're trying to write. As simple as that. And we'll call this sheet updates. Like that. And so that's our basic structure going on there. And then what we'll do is I'll copy this again to make adding the table easy. If we go back to our editor, go back to our data, we have the ability to add new data. And sometimes AppSheet, if you've left it long enough, will realize you've added a new sheet and it'll suggest it for you automatically, but I'm doing it too quickly to do that. So if we just again say Google Sheets, we're going to want to find that same Google Sheet. Should do that for me. There we go. And it will show you that, oh, you've already got projects in, so it's already connected. You want to add in your updates. Yes, I do. Thank you very much. Add in that one table. And again, AppSheet's going to work some magic here, and it's going to look at what I've just added and see if it's connected in any way to what I've already got. And it has done that for me. So again, it's got the key, and we want that to have that unique ID again. So it does it all for us. Unique ID. But what it's done automatically, you can see project is now a reference, and that's a special type of column type which lets you refer to another column, and it's projects. He's got the right one, which is great, and that's because the names were similar enough that it could marry that up. But we can also see it's a part of, so whenever we add an update, it's a part of the project. It belongs to that project. So we can do that. That's going to be useful for us. And we can say all kinds of different things. We want to make sure that you've always got a project. It needs to be tied to it. You've always got a date, and you've always got an update. There's no point in adding it unless you do. And you can see it's automatically going to make today's date the date for the update, which is great. And so if we click on save, now you won't necessarily see any changes straight away, because what we've done is we've added it in, but we haven't changed the view to say we want to see updates now. If we go to add a new one, for instance, there's nothing there either. So we now need to go and change our view to make sure that we can see the changes that we want. So we can do it in both places. On the project details, we can say on the manual columns, we want to add in related updates. AppSheet has made that for us automatically. It's added to the data of projects the fact that it can see that there are updates related to this particular project. And if you go back to your data there, you'll see in projects, it's made this column automatically. It's got a little blue icon. It means it's a virtual column, and it's put in an app formula, and that's a special formula to say, go and have a look in updates. And when you look in updates, you should find the ID of this project in the project column. And if it can do that, then it knows then they're related. And so it does that automatically for you. And likewise, we want to make sure if we add a new project and we want to have a note right from the get-go, we can do that. So under notes, we'll add our new column related updates. And so that means now if we look at the form, at the bottom of the form, it says here we can add in updates there. And you can see it's got this rather long description. That's AppSheet being helpful again. And what it's done is it's put in a text description of what that is, but we want to call it something else. So we can say edit this column, and we can give it a display name, and we can call it updates instead of that longer title. Updates. Click on done. Oh, and I forgot, yes, you need to remove that little description, else it overrides it. So let's get rid of that. Get rid of that, you don't need it. But yeah, so it's now got updates, and you can add a new update in. So let's give it a whirl. So if we click on save, we go back to our demo here, and then if we go back to our project table, if we look at this one, say for instance, this one's only got one particular note. So what we can do is we can copy that note. We can say add as an update instead. That pesky keys there, I'll have to go and hide it. But that was, oh, I can't remember, what was the date? 15th. Let me do that again. So do the 15th and pop that in. Click on save. And so now we've got the updates. We can maybe want to hide the keys, and we maybe want to make this view look a bit better, which we can do as well. So we can jump back over to the editor. Again, the AppSheet will have made a view, and this is a special view this time. It's called an inline view, updates inline, because it's inline inside that project. And then you can, again, do all the bits you want to do. So we can go to the manual. We can say that key. I don't ever need to see the key. Don't show me the key. That's it. And we can remove it from display. And now we've got the project and the update. And so we're just showing that. But the project, we're always going to be looking at it from the project's perspective. So we don't need to see it's this project. We can get rid of the project as well. And that's going to give us this table view. but we might find the deck view works better. So let's jump to the deck view. So in the deck view, we can say the primary header could be the date, for instance, and the secondary header could be the text of the update, like that. And I happen to know that this will get truncated. So there's a better way of view. Again, you've got the card view, which is the list view. And again, if you've got images for this, you won't have any images necessary for an update. You can pick an image as well. We don't need that, but we want the update to be there, and then we'll put the date there. So we get a bigger display on there. And he also gives you the option to have, you've got these extra buttons. Action 1, you can view the project. Action 2, you can edit that particular note, or you can delete. And so if you don't want to save, for instance, we don't need to see the project, you can just set that to nothing. Click on save, jump back, and then if we go back to our little table view, look at this one here. There you can see it's updated to do that. The other key feature before we run out of time is having a bot, having AppSheet do stuff for you. So let's say, for instance, when we add a new project, we want to add an update to say the project was added, or it's got the initial data, or all that kind of stuff. So AppSheet has that for you as well. It's called automations, and in automations you can make bots. So let's create our first one. And what we want to do is we want to make a bot that is going to add us that first note for us. And so that's what we can do in here. So we'll call this bot, we'll say add initial update. There we go. Again, it doesn't matter what you call these things, they're there for your convenience. You can configure events, and so the event is when we add new project. There we are, we're going to add a new project. And as you can see here, we get the settings for this event. Is it something happening in the app, or is it something happening on a schedule? You can also get chat messages in, or what's called chat actions. And you can also see recently Gmail has been added as an event source. But we're going to use the app, and the event we're going to use is on projects, we've had something added. You can add conditions as well. We don't need a condition on this one. And what that means is you might only want it to do it on certain types of ads, but we want it to do it on all ads. And so next is add a step. And what's the step that we want to do? We want to add an update. And you can go and add the update. And you can see what you can do with these steps is all kinds of different things. You can send emails, send notifications. You can call scripts, which is really powerful. So you can get AppScript to do things for you, send chat messages. But also, that's if it's a task. We're going to run a data action. We're going to add more data in for us automatically. And what we're going to do is we're going to add new rows. And we're going to add a new row to the updates table. And it's saying that we need specific things because we made them mandatory. And so we need the project. And so the project is the one we just added. And so you can see when you go to the Data Explorer, I can add in the key for that particular project. So they're linked together. So it's saying the project on this update will be the project we've just added. And then we need an actual update as well. And so we can say the update, and the update we can say is initial details added or something like that. Initial details added. Save. Now, you probably remembered that we also set the key needs to be mandatory and also the date needs to be mandatory. But because we put some initial values in for them, they're automatically set for us, so we don't need to add them here. So if we do save, now what's going to happen is we can test it. And so if we go to AppSheet, we're going to add in a brand new project. So we'll call it project to start. It's got a start date, it's got a due date. We could go and change to make sure due date's always in the future, for instance, rather than being today. Person responsible, we'll make that me. Percentage complete, well, it's just brand new. We're in progress. Notes, I won't add a note and I won't add an update. If I now click on save, what you'll see is project start added to the bottom here. And if we click on project start, you'll see it should have updates, initial details added. Did that all automatically for me without me having to do it. But obviously you can then trigger off other automations to do that for you. And I've got an extended bit I can do, but I think we need to probably wait for some questions. But I'm sure lots of you want to have a look at this and say, well, I don't want to manually copy and paste these into updates. And so you can make a bot to help you do that as well. But I don't think we've got time. Paul, I haven't been watching the chat. Have we got any questions that anyone would like us to answer?
I think it was mainly that quite a lot of other organizations have been using AppSheet to create specific applications. So no specific questions for yourself as yet. I think from my perspective, the key here was the integration with AppSheet. Sorry, not AppSheet, with AppScript, so that you could initiate a external task. You could update, third-party applications. You could update anything within Google. The power is limitless. It's giving you a front end to that particular data, whether you're on a mobile, like Peter mentioned, walking around a coffee field, or you are on your desktop. So yeah, thank you for the demo.
An example of that, Paul, would be when we get a new client. Well, when they're just a prospect, we might get them to fill in a Google form. They fill in the Google form, so we know how they spell their company name and all that. It hits the system. We might take some stuff off the web to put in the file for that client. But when they're a proper client, we then use it to create all the directories. So we don't mess around with, because everyone's got a different name for a client. So you want all that stuff to be there. We also keep in, for example, we've got client name, but we also have a nickname, because sometimes you've got a client with a really long name, and then how are you going to find it? So all that stuff can all be incorporated. And the thing is, you want to remove the decision making, and you want to have consistency in your staff. So you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. So again, that's all where you integrate Google AppScript to pull the information, use Google Drive. If a file hits Google Drive, you can do something with that file potentially. All those sorts of things are possible. And AppSheet is really, it's very, very empowering, very empowering. So even when our leads come in, we see the leads, we're using AI, we're using Gemini, the backdrop, to actually say, is this a real website? Because nowadays we get a lot of spam and all that sort of stuff. So is it real? What's the summary of that company? And that's all done sort of in real time, and it takes a lot of headache. And we are not a massive business. And whenever you use somebody else's app, I've got a lot of consulting experience in my life. And what you find is all the best businesses use technology that's customized for them. If you really want to get that edge, it's the difference. It may only be a few % difference between the number one and number two. The number one uses their own app, and number two uses somebody else's app. And it's just like how when we use somebody else's CRM, all of our processes are a bit more sluggish. They're doing stuff that we don't need, right? They're doing processes we don't need. They're setting up a complexity we don't need. And then you've got to teach all your staff to look through that and work it out. Whereas what we do is, this is how we work, and it's really very streamlined. So it's not, so I'm not saying that an AppSheet CRM is 100% better or 50% better than somebody else's, but that 10% or 20% could actually mean, I'm not talking about functionality, I'm talking about efficiency and effectiveness is much
aligning to your own internal processes. Yeah,
because it's, if we had 100 people, you have a business that you've got a system that deals with 100 people, which these CRMs have to cater for 1,000 people. But if you're 2 men and a dog, suddenly you've got all these things that you don't need, and then you try and cut them out, and it's actually quite hard sometimes. So that's where I think AppSheet is brilliant. We use it for our leave management. We use it for change control. We use it for, as I said, tell me which CRM is controlling, it controls licenses, it's controlling support, all in the same thing. So when I go in there on a Monday morning and say, well, how are we doing, guys? We can actually see, well, if we had 100 support tickets, it'd be pretty obvious, pretty fast. So that's the kind of thing where it's just very, very helpful for your people.
Excellent. And I think from the chat, there's quite a lot of, well, there's a number of people who've developed tools one organization has got 400 of these applications and is replacing fairly expensive internal apps that they've bought by just developing very simple app script and AppSheet environment. So yeah, thank you very much, Peter. Thank you very much, Stephen. Thank you everybody who joined us both on LinkedIn and through the community. We will continue the chat on the Google chat space, but until then, again, thank you all for your time, and we shall speak soon. Take care, guys.
Thank you
Bye
for
for now.
listening. Thanks. See you.
Thanks, bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now. Okay.